a dream I know. Deep up my feelings for you. Watch.
Hello reality viewers, welcome back again to Reality Latest Gist, the home of news and politics. For this channel, we dey drop news every day and we dey react to every videos wey comes our way. And na reality news now we dey drop for this channel, and we dey also dey talk am as e be. If today na the first time we say you dey come across this channel, you are highly welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. And if you are returning subscribers, I appreciate all of una for una massive support to this channel. I say may God bless all of una in Jesus name, amen. I get video wey I want present to una this very moment, and I go dey follow una dey watch the video. After we don watch am together, make we drop our opinion constructively for the comment section. Like our videos and also share our videos if possible. Bye for now.
Another controversial issue that Northern State Governors Forum got embroiled in on Monday was the issue of value-added tax collection by the states. According to the forum, the collection of VAT by the states would lead to a spike in the prices of goods and services and create interstate trade barriers. The 19 northern governors were of the view that states such as Lagos and Rivers were confusing VAT with sales tax. They resolved that until the Supreme Court rules on the substantive matter between the River State government and the federal government, the matter is sub judice, and this Northern State Governors Forum will respect this. To discuss all this and the legal battle between the River State government and the federal government on VAT collection by the states, we're now being joined by Norison Quakers, a senior advocate of Nigeria, who will also be speaking to us on why meeting the constitutional provisions for the presidency and the quest for power shift and fair play are not mutually exclusive. Good morning, Mr. Quakers. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Tunu. Good morning, Dr. Abati. Good morning, Rufai.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, Norris and Quakers. Good to see you again. Well, I mean, Tunu already said it all in the introduction. Yes, the northern governors, along with the traditional rulers of the north, are they strictly right when they say, look, presidential rotation of power is unconstitutional? Will it be correct to argue that when it comes to rotation of power, as Atedo Peterside has argued, that this is not about what the Constitution says. It's about expediency. It's about justice and equity.
I would rather go with what Mr. Atedo Peterside said. Now, in addition to that, we know that the Constitution provides for federal character. In other words, in terms of appointment, it must reflect who we are as a people. Now, it naturally follows that even if there is no particular provision in the Constitution as regards rotational presidency, whatever we do at the federal level must reflect the composition of who we are as a nation and then as a people. So to that extent, the northern governors and the elders from the north are wrong. They're projecting a selfish agenda that might destroy our corporate existence. And for me, that is a red flag, and it should be rejected and refused. They must allow reason to prevail and not to take this sort of posture that because it is not provided for in the Constitution, in plain terms, it's something that cannot hold. Now, if you look at the constitution of the political parties, there is also a provision in that regard about rotational presidency, recognition of rotational offices. If the political parties, in their wisdom, did that, and then the Constitution, in its clear and ambiguous provision, provides for federal character, I don't see why that should not hold at this time. And then again, it's also, it allows for efficiency in government. If a particular group or a particular part of the country has been given the opportunity to rule, and we're not satisfied with what has happened, let somebody else come on board from another tribe, from another group to take the affairs out of the reign of government. So to that extent, I think that I will go with what Atedo Peterside said. That for political expediency, it is important that another ethnic group or another section of the country is given the opportunity at the national level of being president.
Well, I'll borrow their word confused. They confused a convention not being codified in the Constitution with being unconstitutional. Can you give us the distinction between those two terms?
Now, you recall that I said that even though it is not specifically provided for in the Constitution in terms of rotational presidency, what you have in the Constitution is federal character. In other words, whatever we're doing as a country, we must project, it must spread across the country in terms of our ethnic coloration. Now, if you have had a particular ethnic group, right, at the center, it naturally follows that others will be given the same opportunity. Now, in terms of the political structure and the constitution of political parties, there's already a provision in the two major political parties in terms of the need to rotate the offices, the need to rotate governance. So if they're saying that it is not codified, that is in relation to the constitution, yes, but in relation to the political parties' constitution, the answer is yes. So I wouldn't want political parties to be silent concerning this because it affects a particular sector of the country or a particular ethnic group. We must stop. Yesterday I was listening to Mr. J.B. Daudu SAN. We must move away from ethnic coloration and religious coloration and pick a Nigerian as, but it naturally follows. And if we want to promote fairness and equity, that somebody else from another ethnic group should emerge as president. If a particular person from a particular segment from the north has been there for 8 years, it follows that somebody else should be given the opportunity from the south to also be there maybe for another 3 years or 4 years or 8 years as the terms would demand.
I mean, I'm looking for another word in this confusion register. So probably will convoluted do? Yeah, because this level of convolution is amazing. And why I say that is, we had the former ambassador to Switzerland here yesterday, now speaking for the Northern Elders Forum. And these were his words. We are not happy that Goodluck Jonathan did 4 years that was supposed to be for the North. Exactly his words. That after finishing the 2 years of President Umar Musa Yar'Adua, he ought to have left that office rather than run for another 4 years. So he broke that transition, and we have a right to that 4 years. Now, power is supposed to come to the South, and they're still talking about Goodluck Jonathan's presidency, but they don't want to give that level of justice. So it is obvious that the North understands that there's this rotational arrangement going on. Why are they backing out now?
Absolutely.
Why are they backing out?
I totally agree with you. Like somebody said, the problem we have with this country is that we find it very difficult to adhere strictly to agreement. It's so easy. When it is convenient, we tag along. When the obvious stares at us in the face, we backtrack. And that's what is playing out now. Now, the question is, have you had somebody from the North who had been given the responsibility of steering the ship of the Nigerian state? The answer is yes. How long has he been there? Plus or minus, he's going to do his 8 years and then he'll be out of there. Are you now saying that after 8 years, because of, in quote, the term that you missed during Yar'Adua's time, should now be filled again by another Northerner who will now do the 4 years that Yar'Adua was unable to do when a natural event occurs because he died in office? And this again is a constitutional provision. Now, he died in office. Goodluck Jonathan stepped in initially as acting president and eventually was confirmed as president. And then he contested the election and won. Mind you, when they contested the election, he contested against two Northerners. Who are the Northerners? The current president and then Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Those were the two major contenders from the North that contested against him. And then he won. Now, the second time around, General Buhari, today is the president of the country. He's done his first term. He's in the course of concluding the second term. I don't think we should be discussing that any longer. We must be honorable men and women. We must stand by the provisions of the Constitution and let somebody else come from another part of the country to contribute to the development of Nigerian society. We have been stagnant for too long. So let's bring other persons from other ethnic groups and let them come and see how the country can be moved forward. But again, like I said to someone yesterday, Buhari would not have been president if the South didn't vote for him. Buhari would not have been president if he didn't get 2/3 majority of the vote cast in the country. So he's not a northern president and it should not be seen as a northern presidency. is the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, if you look at the provisions of Section 2, sub 2 of the Nigerian Constitution, it says the Federation of Nigeria shall be constituted or composed of 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. So anyone who is to emerge as president, you must have votes across these states as recognized by the Constitution, because that's what constitutes the federation. So you can't bifurcate, neither can you divide the country into two segments, the North and the South. That shouldn't be. But for now, because of political experience, it's important that somebody else should be given the opportunity from the South to be there as president, to move the country forward.
Well, on that point, I guess you cannot be more correct, to quote a very familiar phrase. But quickly, let's talk about value-added tax. One of the things the northern governors talked about. One, they say is sub judice, and that until the matter is determined by the Supreme Court, the states should just allow the federal government to continue to collect VAT. Two, they say, southern governors are confused because they're talking about sales tax, whereas the VAT is not a sales tax. And if every state enacts its own VAT law, what you will find will be a situation where you will have multiple taxation. Three, they cited the example of Lagos State. That the only reason Lagos State gets up to about 50% of VAT collected in the country is because the headquarters of manufacturing companies, telcos, and other institutions are here in Lagos. And that in any case, it's all of this is about confusion. What do you say to this? And what advice will you give to those concerned southern states that are determined to start collecting the VAT? Interestingly,
Dr. Bati, this issue had been litigated a while back. There are about 3 authorities that come readily to mind. The first one was actually filed by, I think, Lagos State in 2014 on this same issue. It was filed at the Supreme Court in its original jurisdiction. And the Supreme Court held at that time that this is an issue, a conflict or a contest between the state government and an agency of the federal government, FRS, and that this should only be litigated at the High Court. It should be taken to the High Court. So in other words, the Supreme Court cleverly declined jurisdiction, that this should be taken at the Federal High Court. Now, to that extent, what can one deduce from this is simply this. The Supreme Court has seen that this is a matter that it's not a dispute between the federal government and the state government. So that settles it. Now, Rivers State, in the wisdom of the governor, went to the Federal High Court and instituted an action to determine the constitutionality of the VAT and who should administer it. And the Federal High Court, in the wisdom of the judge, upheld the position of Rivers State by saying that it is not the place of the Federal Revenue Service to collect VAT. Now, when you look at the Constitution, back again to the case I cited earlier, Attorney General of Lagos State and Attorney General of Federation. Now, reference was made to the 1960 and the 1963 Constitution. Item 38 clearly provided for that at that time. Now, when the 1979 Constitution and subsequent constitutions were drafted, it was now left out and omitted. Now, there's also the case of Attorney General of Ogun State and I think Aberu Agba on this same subject matter, but anchored on the sales tax. Now, what was it that the Supreme Court at that time held? The Supreme Court looked at it in its entirety and said, it can be saved under item 61 of the Constitution, only to the extent that it relates to trade and commerce, but it's also not exclusive. When you read the decision, it's also there. Now, what is the position concerning this? How can Lagos State generate so much in terms of revenue by VAT? And then at the end of the day, what it gets to meet the infrastructural demand in the state. You can see the population explosion in Lagos. You can see the need to do a lot of things. The road network. Now, Lagos State actually needs the funds to do all of this. But now, you're now strangulating, you're now stifling by making such unguarded statements. Now, Lagos State has enacted a law. Question is, the order that was made by the Court of Appeal, does it in any way affect Lagos State? The answer to that is no. Is it entitled to collect VAT? It's a constitutional issue, and for as long as it remains a constitutional issue, there are no room for sentiments. We must follow strictly the provisions of the Constitution. So to that extent, I would say this, that the northern governors are actually mixing up issues. It is not one that Lagos State cannot administer. And if they say that other states should come up with their own law, it is the provision of the Constitution. The VAT is not provided for in item 58 and 59 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. And so to that extent, since there's already a pronouncement of court, and the law right now in Lagos State has been enacted, Lagos State is at liberty to collect VAT. And this is without recourse to the court, or without recourse to the judgment of the court.
And what is your take on paragraph 6, subsection D of the communique by the northern governors, in which they mention that the only reason Lagos State attributes, you can attribute 50% of VAT collection to Lagos State is because of the commercial activity that goes on in Lagos State. They cited telecommunications, banking, manufacturing, etc.
It is because the environment is also, this is a commercial hub. If they want, why is it not in Adamawa? Why is it not in Benue? The reason why this is so, now you can also understand this. There's hardly a governor in this state that does not have a house in Lagos, or does not have some investment in Lagos. So Lagos is actually the commercial hub, and that's why you have all the headquarters here. And so one should not begrudge the state by virtue of his position. If it's generating so much, it naturally follows that the money being generated at the state should be used to develop the state without more. How can I raise money and give to someone who is not contributing anything to the pool? It's like a business venture. If you're the one who is raising the revenue, if you're the one who is raising the income, why should the income be shared if the other is not contributing anything? For so long, it appears that the governors have been reticent and relaxed. So this is the time for everyone to look inwards. Now, you will recall some time back when Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was governor of Lagos State, there was an issue of allocation of funds to Lagos State. And Lagos State had to look inwards. And that was the beginning of this internally generated revenue for the state. So the state is constantly thinking and engaging on how to move forward, on how to embark on infrastructure development without recourse to the federal government. So if Lagos State is doing that, it naturally follows other states should do the same and not go cap in hand to the presidency for assistance. It's undemocratic, and it's also not constitutional. So for me, I think the whole thing is just muddled up. So you can see anyone who can make such a statement is speaking from a position of either envy or strife and or prejudice. It shouldn't come. You should take advantage. Come and learn from Lagos. I know that a lot of things have been done in Lagos, and some other states have also come to pick ideas from Lagos on how to move their states forward. So it's not one to begrudge the state, but it's one to complement the state and see what you can learn and go back and implement. And that's why I commend the governor of Adamawa State with the statement that he made. That yes, Lagos State has a right to collect VAT. And he's the only northern governor who has made that statement. At least it was in the papers.
What about this argument they made about it will disrupt interstate trade? That's what they said. You know, if you collect, and I'm sure they were making the reference to that argument about input and output. Maybe if you set up, if you enter the input for a particular transaction in one state and you go to sell it in another state, that argument, because this was part of the things they put forward yesterday. Is it valid for you?
It's not valid. It's not valid. This is global everywhere. And that's why I said, when you read the decision of the Supreme Court, in both the Aberagba case and the one filed by Lagos State, you will see the logic in terms of, are you aware that the way the judgment was couched, if you have recourse to item 62 of the 1999 Constitution in relation to trade and commerce as regards international trade and commerce, and then also trade and commerce between states as well. The federal inland revenue is empowered to charge VAT or administer VAT. And that's it. I mean, it's clear. So it can't be a barrier. It's just a question of working out the modalities. It can be a barrier. You cannot, on the basis of that, simply say, oh, because it's a barrier, Lagos State should not collect, and so you throw it open. It should only be the federal government. Are you aware that when the VAT law was enacted, I think it was in 1993, it was actually a decree. And the reason why that was so, it was a unitary system of government. It was the military that was there. And so in order to make it easy for the states to have, because the states couldn't collect at that time, and the states didn't have the independence that they have today by virtue of the Constitution. That's why the law was enacted. Now, if I take that by extension, the case of Attorney General of Lagos State and Attorney General of Federation in relation to urban development, the law as at that time was also a decree, and it was struck down by the court. It was declared unconstitutional. So without going into the merit of the case that is pending before the Court of Appeal, I feel that we should not sacrifice what I will call justice on the altar of personal prejudice and selfishness.
Well, thank you very much, Norris Nkwe.